This is Pedro, the Titanium guy. Welcome. A few folks have been asking me how to kernel debug Windows under Parallels on an Apple Macintosh. There's one way it works and a few ways it doesn't, so I thought I'll save you the trouble with this video. On Parallels, the only kernel debug transport that works is serial, so that's the one we'll use. This VM on the right is one where I already installed the debugger, and I already created a serial port. This serial port is assigned to a TCP/IP socket server mode. You want the debugger machine to be the server because chances are you want the debugger to be started before you boot the machine you want to kernel debug. Now let's prep this VM. This VM has just been created. There's nothing has been done to it. It's completely vanilla. Two things we'll want to do to prepare this VM for debugging. First one is to disable secure boot, because you can't kernel debug a machine if secure boot is enabled, and Parallels enables it by default. The other thing is to add the serial port that will connect to this one. So let's go ahead, shut down the VM. Let's bring the settings. On the Hardware tab, add a serial port, which will be, again, TCP/IP, connect to localhost on the same port, and we'll make this one be the client. All right, we got serial port. Now let's turn off secure boot with this command. We'll use the Parallels control and set the secure boot off on the test VM. And that's it. We can start the VM. Now, I haven't enabled kernel debug yet. That's what we'll do now. Let's bring ourselves an admin console. Remember, we are using serial transport. So we are going to configure the debug settings to use the serial port, port number 1. There's only one anyways. And the baud rate, we'll use the standard one. It's not really relevant when you're using fake serial ports over Ethernet, over TCP/IP. Let's set let's set debug to on and reboot. Oh, and let's start kernel debug. COM1, go. And we are connected. Get the stack, all the variables. And we can now boot the entire OS under debugger. Now, for those of you who are curious, why couldn't I use KDNet or kernel debug over network? Well, I'll tell you why. Parallels does support a few, at least 2 Ethernet interfaces, which are compatible with KDNet. Let's run this command again and see what options do we have. Both VirtIO and E1000 are supported. However, there's a wrinkle. On a QEMU, when you use VirtIO, you must disable the legacy mode of VirtIO. This is required by KDNet, by the KDNet small driver. On Parallels, you don't have the option to set this up. So VirtIO will start, and it will actually start up as a legacy, and that won't work. Okay, so VirtIO doesn't work. Why doesn't E1000 work? Well, at least on the ARM version of Parallels, whatever you pass to the parameter adapter type is ignored. So if I were to run this command now, I would still get the VirtIO interface. I don't think the Realtek and E1000 interfaces are actually implemented in the ARM version of Parallels, and that's why it doesn't work. Anyways, Serial works pretty decently, considering that it's really not serial, it's Ethernet emulating serial ports. So, well, I hope I save you some time, and stay tuned for more videos. Bye-bye.